And we are live on the Side Quest, a very, very special edition. We're going to talk all about Metroid. I should probably take that image down and show the people that are here. It is I, Dolly Domofsky, joined by that guy right there, JJ Holder, who is apparently.
Hell yeah.
Oh, there we go. You were frozen for a second there.
There.
Welcome, JJ.
I don't know. Hey there.
Hey there, hi lily ho there. How you doing this wonderful Wednesday night?
It is Wednesday night, isn't it? I feel like we just talked.
We did actually.
Oh, huh.
But yeah, it's been only a couple days. But we're gonna have a lot of fun here. We're gonna talk about Metroid because there's a Metroid game coming out. Hey, check it out. I got a shirt. Yeah,
look at
look at that. I'm all good to go.
Mine's Portal, so it's
okay. I guess space
sci-fi, funky.
Get a little bit
closer. Energy guns. Yeah.
Yes. So, Metroid. It is a game.
Not just
we
one.
have Metroid. Not just one. Metroid Dread is coming out this Friday, and we decided let's get together and talk about the history of Metroid. We may have some guests pop in here and there. We don't know, but yeah, Metroid Dread, the fifth game in the 2D series of Metroid, the mainline 2D series. Obviously, there's Metroid Prime, and there's a bunch of other spinoffs. But we thought let's get together, let's chat about Metroid, chat about our history of Metroid, and compare our Metroid fandom, which you're gonna get it, trust me. But and just talk about the series in general, and spend the next hour really enjoying and getting excited for, trying to get excited for the upcoming launch, which is this Friday. Do you have it pre-ordered?
Oh, it's downloaded on my Switch. I got the digital copies.
Nice.
It's ready to go.
I picked up the limited edition one that was floating out there, but I'm terrified to buy it and then open it, as is the case these days, right? Because I know it's going to be worth something later, blah blah. But I'll open it. I still have my Zelda limited edition that I've opened and destroyed the box, anyways. But it's a little bit about Metroid Dread. Obviously, first one on Switch, first 2D game in a long time since Metroid Fusion. But yeah, again, that's launching Friday, just for the Switch. Obviously, nothing else. But Metroid actually goes back a long ways. This is just the most recent Metroid game. Metroid goes back to the 80s and the humble Nintendo Entertainment System. First, let me ask, when was the first time you played a Metroid game?
When did it? What year? It came out in 89.
I think it was
90, I think maybe 90.
No, the first Metroid.
Yeah, when did it come out? 88,
86.
86. Wow. Okay.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe it came out in 1980. Yeah, first release Metroid 1986.
Okay, so.
And then Metroid 2 was like 89 or something. No, I'm sorry, 91. 91. Metroid 2.
91. Yeah. So. I got them both at around the same time. So yeah, so like 89, 90, so 90 probably. So yeah.
Okay, so you got in early on. That's good.
Yeah.
I got let's see. I think I started in I want to say it was probably like 87. Or so, 87, 88 at the latest, but it was right around that time. And I remember seeing that cartridge. Let me see if I can find an image of that cartridge. And I saw that cartridge and I thought, this looks pretty cool, but I never got into it. Like, I played it a little bit and it just wasn't anything that really kind of, got me super excited. But
as a literal like kindergartner, playing these, it's not the easiest game to play as a I want something fast. I need Contra. I don't need like I may not be making a lot of headway, but in some of those games, but at least they're fast and I can play them. Metroid as a kid was like way too like I have to remember things. I have to write these passwords down.
Yeah.
I have to do all this stuff. It was
draw maps. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
It the first Metroidvania game. No, I played like snippets of the first one back in the 80s when like right around the time it was launched. Didn't get into it. The second game on the Game Boy, I think I own it. I'm not 100% sure. Again, played it for a little bit, didn't get into it. Super Metroid. Didn't play that until God, I want to say the early 2000s. So I missed out on all these Metroid games until I didn't miss out, but I didn't really get into the Metroid series until Fusion came out for the Game Boy Advance, and because I picked it up right around the same time Metroid Prime came out. I thought, I'm going to give Metroid another chance here, and Fusion and Prime were phenomenal games, and so that got me into Metroid. They were released. I've been a sucker
Fusion and Prime are released a day apart.
Yeah, and you could link them up too. But we'll get into that. But yeah. And since then, I've been a sucker for the series. I love the lore. I love even some of the quirky offshoots. But let's talk about the first Metroid game.
Yeah.
Tell me what you might know about that first Metroid game. I have the Wikipedia page open, but
in terms of, there's actually something I just recently learned was, did you know there was like a manga kind of adaptation of the first Metroid game?
Was there really?
Kind of. It was basically a Japanese sort of take on like a choose your own adventure book. Remember that picture that I posted in the Discord?
That's right. A little bit?
That's from that. And it's one of those things where it's like you're actually rolling. It's like a single player tabletop game. You're rolling a D6s and you're drawing the maps, and it's got multiple branching paths, and it pretty much follows the story of Metroid 1 until you get to the final act, and it just kind of it involves Samus dealing with like space pirates and stuff. It's like it's its own unique thing, but like ideas from that manga animated, like drawn choose your own adventure book like would pop up later on. It's like Did You Know Gaming just posted a really cool video like this week about it. And there's actually, I will drop it in I can remember if I still have it. Do I still have it saved? Yeah. You can share this everywhere. Somebody took the book, translated it, and made a text adventure out of it.
Awesome. Okay.
And so I shared it with you in the private chat.
All right, I'll post it on here because I am super over at Metroid Database. I'm gonna load this sucker up.
It's called Twinetroid.
It's a Twine game. Okay, yeah.
It's fascinating and it's cool, and it's like it's the first ever appearance of like a mutated Metroid, and it's like the first appearance of the gunship.
Oh, wow.
Like, like it would borrow some cool things, and it's the first like actual look at like Samus, not just like a little pixelated smiley face, but like an actual look at Samus. It's a cool.
This is cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be playing this. All right, I have totally saved this to my to my browser. I'm definitely gonna give this one a shot. I'm excited. Thanks for pointing that out. That's cool. That's really cool.
I just thought that was, and so it's basically the first game with like a whole different, like with like a fourth act tacked onto it at the end, which is really cool.
Speaking about that first game, I'm gonna share. Let me share this screen. Here's the trailer for the original Metroid. Well, on the eShop.
I
should say. Yeah, you guys remember Metroid? Look at that game.
I love that theme song. That really spooky.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me see if I can. Let me pause this for a second. I'm gonna stop this. I'm gonna let that theme song play on there. Let's restart this. Share the screen. I think that's it's worth. Oh, the audio is already set up. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me know if you can, if y'all can hear it. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Who knows? But
yeah,
you can hear it.
I can hear it.
Beautiful.
It's It's really blaring, but
Oh, is it? All right, I'm gonna turn this sucker down. Oh, probably because I have this up all the way. Let's do that. Better?
yeah.
There you go. Oh, such good music. And so the original Metroid was essentially based on Alien, right?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much the whole franchise
Yeah.
is for the most part. And like a lot of H.R. Giger stuff, just like Alien. What does Metroid is a portmanteau.
Yes.
It's like Metro Android or something. I can't remember. I think that's what it was.
It was something like
It's
that.
been a while.
I
It's
just
been a while since I've had
heard
to
a
think about
podcast
that.
or people were talking about that. But yeah, it's a portmanteau.
Yeah. It was what? It was Nintendo R&D 1.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like back when Nintendo has the worst in-studio names for in-house studio names.
Yeah. Okay,
you know,
Metro and Android. Metro and Android. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there you go.
But so yeah, it's I'm gonna read a little bit of the Wikipedia page here while we're shut that down for a second there. Yeah. Music playing in the background. It's always good. The Wikipedia page tells us that it was Satoru Okada who directed Metroid, and Yoshio Sakamoto, who is a character designer, and then Gunpei Yokoi was also involved. This is R&D 1. It was developed by R&D 1, released in Japan on 86.
Yeah.
And then 87 in the US and 88 in Europe. Okay, so I think I played it probably in 88, early 88 in the US. But it has that influence from Alien, Ridley Scott's Alien film. So here's how it reads. So Metroid was designed to be a shooting game that combined the platforming Super Mario Brothers with nonlinear exploration of Zelda with a darker aesthetic.
Yeah.
Halfway through development, I
was gonna say, remember there was that like story where it's like originally Mario was gonna feature a gun, like the original design. So I have to assume that just came back. Yeah.
Right. And also in Rabbids now Mario has a gun. But no, it's halfway through the development of Metroid, it says one of the staff said to his fellow developers, "Wouldn't it be kind of cool if it turned out that this person inside the suit was a woman?" And the idea was accepted, and then Alien was a huge influence after that, and then that was the world of the first Metroid. So it took a lot of that. It's in fact Ridley, who's kind of the main antagonist, is named after Ridley Scott. So that's and obviously you mentioned H.R. Giger, so it's pretty awesome that they took a lot of the influence from Alien, which I ended up rewatching a couple weekends back. And it's just perfect lead into this. So, such a good movie. And the thing about Metroid, I think what I didn't necessarily get when I was younger was because it was 2D exploration, right? You're going around, and for us, we were drawing maps back then, but it was dark. It was gritty. Yeah. It was, the music set this mood of, it, I don't know, as a kid, let's see, I was probably like around 9 years old, 10 years old when I was playing it, somewhere around there. It was a little too dark for me as an NES. I just wanted to shoot aliens, but no, this actually had this darkness to it.
Metroid has is really an outlier with Nintendo in the fact where it really is darker, and it really does care about its lore, like in a weird like that Nintendo games. They're all connected. Like it's a straight line story. There's very few spin-offs or anything. Like you can actually follow a story from first game to last game kind of thing. And Metroid, like I looked at what the chronology of it was, like of the game releases, and I was kind of surprised at how it doesn't really deviate that much. Like, I mean, it is. It's a little Fast and the Furious-y, where it's like there's like the primes kind of cut in between a little bit, but then catch back up, kind of. But it's Zero Mission though is much more accessible and more fun to play than the original Metroid is right now. If you're going to go back to the original Metroid, just get Zero Mission and play Zero Mission if you have the ability to.
Completely agree. Zero Mission came out after Fusion. I ended up so here's the bad thing about Nintendo and the way it does things. Metroid. So I'm holding my 3DS here, which y'all can see. I have a whole folder here devoted to a bunch of all the Metroid games that are available on 3DS, which are Metroid, Metroid 2, the Game Boy one, Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion. So it's like the 4 main 2D games. I have Blast Ball. There's some other, remember Blast Ball. There's some other games on there, but they never posted Zero Mission on the 3DS. So that never came out for this device, which would be perfect for that. But Zero Mission is available on the Wii U. Which is you can get it there, and you can get the other half of the games on there. So it's kind of sporadic of where they're posting things. Yeah. And we obviously have this guy right here, which only has two.
It has the original and Super, and that's because that's all they can do because
every other Metroid is on there.
But Zero Mission's an interesting one too because it was apparently like it started its life as, hey, we should put Super Metroid on the Game Boy Advance, but instead instead the director says we could do that, or we could take another shot at regular Metroid. And go back to it. You can tell by playing Zero Mission though that halfway through, at some point, the aesthetic style changed because the sprites and the character models are all way different than the backgrounds. The backgrounds are really cartoony, but like all the sprites and everything are way more serious. Like at one point, I think this game probably was supposed to look a little more like the original game, which has a little bit more of a cartoony look. Like Metroid had like Sam. I just called Samus Metroid. Like I'm like a schoolyard kid. Why can't Metroid crawl? Exactly. But you could tell it was probably going to be a little more rounded and cartoonish. But at some point they're like, this sucks. Let's fix this and make it in line with Fusion. But it takes everything that was good about the original Metroid and like fixes it, makes it play better, makes it look better, adds some stuff to it. It's what a remake is supposed to be. Like keep the core and heart of it, but just kind of fix what needs to be fixed and maybe add some flavor.
Yep. Yeah. It looks great. To be honest, it's a fantastic looking Zero Mission looks fantastic.
Fusion and Zero Mission are like absolutely some of the best like 2D sprite work that Nintendo's done in like ever.
So the original Metroid sold okay. Across I'm checking out VG sales. Which is a wiki site there, but sold okay. It didn't do gangbusters. None of the Metroid games really have done gangbusters, but
especially in Japan, it's definitely a Western-facing franchise.
Really is. The very first games has sold 2.73 million. Across the world, I guess, whatever. So which for the NES, so that's actually not bad. It was around for a long time, but it works out really well. The funny thing about the Metroid series is, you chronologically, the next game isn't Metroid 2.
Correct. It's Prime.
It's Metroid Prime. So do we want to do this chronologically or release?
Let's do it chronologically because I think that's kind of silly.
Yeah. Chronologically, the next game is Metroid Prime, the Prime series essentially. You have, and I'm staring at the timeline right now. Prime Hunters.
It goes. The DS game, Echoes, and Corruption.
And Federation Force. Don't forget Federation Force.
Everyone's favorite.
Snuck in there. But Metroid Prime, this was released in 2002.
Yes.
after Halo, I think, right?
Yes, yes. Definitely. Halo 1 was
2001. Yeah, Halo 1 was 2001, and Metroid came out in
yeah,
2002. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also Halo had been sort of floating around for a significant amount of time
Sure.
leading
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. There you
Prime,
go.
however,
Yeah.
was not floating around.
Yep. Prime was not floating around. Prime, what took the notoriously great 2D series and threw it into 3D and created
3D.
this. The first, I mean, for as far as I know, the first real 3D adventure game of that caliber. I mean, you had stuff like Turok on the N64 where you kind of went to different areas, but this was the first real. I mean,
this was like a triple A exploration and like 3-dimensional like game like this. Like it really they didn't mess around with the Metroid formula that much outside of making it a first-person shooter. Like you can still tell this is a Metroid game.
Right. Oh gosh, yeah. Yep. I'm trying to find
do
the.
you remember do you remember being absolutely sort of blown away playing Metroid and like getting like the glimpse of Samus's face and like the reflection of the helmet and stuff like that? It was stupid stuff like that still to this day is always exciting because those kind of small details really don't pop up in games because it's unnecessary, but like they had something to prove. Like Retro Studios had something to prove. This is an American company that has been handed. Yeah, this is an American company that has been handed one of Nintendo's, like, at the time, Super Metroid was still considered one of the greatest video games of all time, and this has been a dead franchise.
Yes, it really was because it skipped the N64 completely.
Yeah, skipped the Nintendo 64 completely.
And how great do these visuals still look? I mean, it still looks really good.
I'm playing it right now on my GameCube. I have an HDMI adapter for it, and it is still like it is so polished at every angle. It's incredible. It's really an incredible little game that popped out. I never would have thought it would have worked. Like I remember it being announced and being like, well, but like Super Metroid, man, that game's great. Why does everything have to change so much? Not everything needs to be Mario 64, but boy, did they prove me wrong at the end.
There is the let me see if that shows it right there. Oh, it didn't quite show it. You mentioned that where Samus is, her mask, her visor fogs up, but there's also the cool scene here. Let me see. I'm gonna play this again, where she's in the ball, and as she comes out of the ball, just to watch, to see that mode go from third person to first person.
Yeah,
so
cool camera,
real cool camera angles. I'll play this trailer again.
Like this studio didn't exist. Like this is their first game as this studio.
Oh gosh, it's wild what they did, and I'm looking at it. He didn't. It says according to Wikipedia, Nintendo did not want to develop a Metroid game for the N64 because they couldn't come out with any ideas, and so nobody could imagine. They couldn't figure out how to integrate the N64 controller into a 2D Metroid.
Yeah,
and then that's when
it's funny.
The company actually declined. By the way, the company actually declined them when they said, "Can you guys do this, bro?"
Yeah, it's funny that you mention Turok because the founder of Retro is Spannenberg, who founded Iguana.
Oh, there you go.
So the Metroid franchise sort of has a direct lineage to Turok the Dinosaur Hunter. Because it's got like a direct connection to Iguana because it's like there's Iguana people involved in what would become Retro Studios when it was the first game they did was Metroid Prime. Like that's their first video game, and like to see Nintendo trust them so much now is incredible. Really, I mean,
So
because
the
what
way
else?
this story,
They
I mean, the
also
way
let
this,
the, yeah.
sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, because remember after Metroid, they let them go. They gave them Donkey Kong Country. They did 2 of those, and they did the 3DS Mario Kart.
Yep. Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
They did, yeah. And they have some canceled things that never came
They
out.
do.
Like
I think it was Raven Blade was an RPG that they were working on. I'm looking again, thinking Wikipedia.
Yeah, and
The
a football game, like an NFL game.
something like
They were
that.
going to do an
Yeah,
NFL game at one point. Yeah,
it's true. Well, what's really interesting about this is that they, again, they had Nintendo essentially and Spangenberg created this studio together, right? They both kind of invested with it. They created a studio in Austin. And it says when Miyamoto visited Retro in 2000, he kind of, I mean, this is how the story goes, actually. He saw that they were working on a first-person prototype, and he said, wow, that would make a really cool Metroid game. So I'm challenging you guys to turn it into a Metroid game. And they turned it around. I mean, it even says here they worked 80 to 100-hour weeks, which, can't do that these days anymore. But
Jason Schreier will have a biz post up.
Yeah, exactly. There were no blogs back then, but they really, they created this masterpiece. Absolute masterpiece. I love it. It's, I've never completed any of the Metroid Prime games. I get to the end. I've made it to the final boss in each one, including actually not Mother M, Other M. We'll get that in a little bit, but I never completed them. But yeah, I'm hopefully I will if there's another re-release. But so Metroid Prime sold really well by Metroid standards, I guess. Sold well. You can only go so far. Metroid Prime sold. It's actually the highest selling Metroid in the series at 2.84. Just beat out the original Metroid for NES. So
I don't think it could be like. It was such a big game when it came out. It's kind of easy. It's kind of easy to forget that, like, at the time there hadn't been a Metroid. The Metroid had skipped a whole console generation.
Right.
At the time, there were 3 Metroid games. Like, you had, I mean, now luckily, remember, Metroid Prime and Fusion came out pretty much the same exact day. So, like, it was like all of a sudden, like, holy shit. It's like Metroid's back in a big way, because not only is Prime good, but like Fusion is every bit as good in its own separate way. Yeah.
And we'll get in. We'll talk about Fusion in a little bit, because the next game is Metroid 2. Metroid Prime 2.
Technically, the next game is Hunters for the DS.
Yeah. Well, no. Technically, the next canonical game. Oh, you're right. It is Hunters. I'm sorry. You're right. It is Hunters, which is sort of a bizarre game, because they
really tried, man.
They tried. When the DS was released in 2004, I think the DS was released. They put out a demo for
with it
Hunters
a demo on a cartridge. I still have that in its original little thing, a little cardboard sleeve.
But they put that out and said, here's our take of sort of this weird Samus versus 1v1 type of thing.
It was weird because they really tried to make an FPS work on hardware that didn't really support FPS.
Right, exactly.
Like, it didn't have because remember the original DS came with a little thumb nub on the wrist strap, so you could use the touch screen as analog stick, because they had the audacity to release Super Mario 64 with a D-pad only, but you could also use the touch screen.
I'm looking at this right now on the Wii U, and here I'm going to share the screen here and share the image of the game being available on Nintendo's website for the Wii U. So there you go. Metroid Prime Hunters is available on the Wii U.
Oh, you can play it
on you can play it, with the dual screen setup, or you can actually play it off screen, which means you can just play it on the gamepad. And I'm really curious how they get that to work with the Wii U gamepad, right? Because the bottom screen, you were meant to be like sort of interfacing with a little bit and getting some of the 3D stuff. Does the analog stick work on the?
I don't know. I can't.
Oh man.
I mean,
well, because I might have to pick this up. I might have to pick this up.
if you put that into a if you put Hunters into a 3DS with like a joystick, I mean it works as an analog control for the D-pad.
Does it really?
Well, like if you play Super Mario 64 DS on a 3DS,
oh yeah, you're right.
You're still using the D-pad, so it's still just 4 directions with the diagonals and stuff. But you get to use
better.
Makes it better because you're technically using an analog stick, and it feels a little more natural. I do not remember how Hunters really played. I never really got into Hunters.
I have to give it a shot. Well, in this game, the synopsis is the Galactic Federation receives an unusual telepathic message. So they send in Samus, and they find out that there's this rumored ultimate power.
I was gonna say the dead speak.
The dead speak, yeah. And there's 6. So there's like the 6 rival bounty hunters. They really kind of lean in on the whole bounty hunter thing with this one, with some really weird names. And so they're all trying to get the power. So your goal, and I remember this, is to go from like planet to planet, zone to zone, to try to take down these hunters and get certain stuff before they do. And then, but. That was Hunter. It's a DS game that they tried to do an FPS on. Definitely gonna. Apart from the demo, I never played really much more. I think I did play the game at one point, but I think I sold it. But for $10 on the Wii U, it may not be a bad choice. The next game, canonically, for sure, then is Metroid Prime 2.
Echoes, Dark Samus.
Our first Dark Samus that we get. Yes.
Which is kind of. Which is like, was it? No, never mind. It's the next one. Corruption. I'll get to that later. This one has multiplayer. Like
so this came out around the same time as Halo 2, I believe.
Yeah.
And Nintendo said, because there was big remember, was it Halo 2 or Halo 3?
It's still the GameCube. So Halo 3 was a 360 game. So.
Oh, what's Halo 360? Okay, so there you go. It was the same time as Halo 2. And I remember sitting at work, hanging out with friends, and they're saying, what's gonna be the bigger game, Metroid Prime 2 or Halo 2? Like there was actually a battle between the two. Well, Metroid Prime's gonna have multiplayer, so I mean, Halo 2's multiplayer is still pretty freaking legendary. But
and Nintendo only had like 3 or 4 online games. So
yes, correct.
I don't even think this game cracked 1 million. Did it? Like
no. This game, according to that website, this game sales it did crack 1 million barely, like 1.1.
Okay.
But multiplayer was all on the console, so it's like split screen, 4-corner split screen multiplayer.
Some GoldenEye ass nonsense.
Yeah.
Nobody actually played.
But what was really cool about this game was the light. This has a light and dark, right? Does it have a dark world? Yeah.
The ether, like the light of ether.
That's right.
Yeah.
The planet ether. Yep. Yeah. So it's got 2 dimensions. I loved this game for that. Fact, I thought, oh, this is really cool. It reminded me a little bit of Link to the Past. Link to the Past. Remember in Link to the Past, you go back between the dark world and the light world.
And it really is doing that exact thing. Yeah.
Yep. And I loved watching the beasts kind of with the dark. They get sucked into the dark power and all that kind of stuff. And you saw a little bit of the multiplayer there as well. Really a cool concept for a Metroid game, and it worked out. I actually liked it more than the original for that reason, because it did introduce this whole different different feel to
Oh,
the game.
holy shit. I didn't know. I don't remember this, but I didn't remember it until I'm reading it right now about Nintendo's marketing for this game.
What was that?
Because Nintendo, I'm just going to read straight from the Wikipedia on it.
Yeah.
Nintendo launched several websites to initiate a viral marketing campaign for Echoes, which drew inspiration from Halo 2's ARG, I Love Bees. Remember I Love Bees?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I remember I Love Bees. The first ARG, yeah.
Yeah, the websites included Luminoth Temple, an internet forum, Channel 51, a conspiracy theory website that featured grainy QuickTime videos of Metroid Prime 2.
The Battlesphere, Orbis Labs selling a Battlesphere. Oh gosh.
And they offered job positions for bounty hunters on monster.com.
Okay, I do remember that. I remember that part. Holy cow.
A Metroid-related spoof of I Love Bees appeared online in October of 2004, to which Nintendo reacted by stating that it was not involved with that.
Oh, geez, yeah. Which not us. A wink. But maybe. It could be. Who knows?
Oh, holy no. Cow. It said the campaign featured similarly named domains such as ilovebeams.com.
Oh, jeez.
which each had an image of Samus with the caption, "All your bees are belong to us. Never send a man to do a woman's job."
Oh, geez. Wow. They were leaning all into it. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's a good game, man. It's really good. The sales do not do it justice.
No. Game. Oh God. Such a great game. And I remember
it came out at a bad time on a bad system. Yeah. I mean, I love the GameCube, but let's be reasonable here.
It had already gone downhill.
Yeah.
People were expecting the next consoles because the Xbox was right around the corner. People had already started talking about Xbox and PlayStation 3 at the time, and so they said,
"This is 2004."
Yeah.
So the Wii would just be 2 years away, even less than that, because I'm sure this is the end of 2004.
Right. That's right.
November of 2004, and the Wii would come out in 2006, and we were already sort of rumbling about the revolution. So
yeah. But what came out in 2007 was this game for the Wii, the actual Wii. They said, let's put another Metroid game out there, Metroid Prime 3, and Corruption. And this incorporated the Wii controls, the motion controls.
Yes, the motion controls.
It's becoming a part of her.
It's
one of the few games that actually kind of figured it out in terms of an FPS with motion controls. A lot of people came in and tried, but they all kind of didn't understand what needed to be done.
I think there's Condemned was on the Wii, right? You remember Condemned? And that was just the motion controls on that were
Conduit was
and Conduit. Conduit 1 was not that good. Conduit 2 actually kind of figured out the motion
Conduit
controls.
2 was really cool and has one of the greatest endings in video game history.
Oh God, yeah. And it's a cliffhanger ending, and you will never know what happens after.
Yeah. I want to know what happens next, but do you go into the future and fight alongside Abraham Lincoln as a space marine?
I hope so. Well, Metroid Prime Corruption brings Dark Samus, back to the fold here. But what I liked about this Metroid game was that there was a lot more story in this game than there had been. It seemed like there had been in previous Metroid games. Like there really was, she's. It used to be where they just kind of threw you out there.
Yeah, a lot more PO, a lot more stuff going on, a lot more stuff to scan.
Yes. Oh, we didn't mention that about the first Metroid Prime game. The scanning was I scanned everything.
Everything. That was the problem, with games like this, and it wasn't Mass Effect 2, where you could just go around and scan all the planets and everything. Yep. And
it launched the scanning of everything. Yeah,
just let me scan stuff. I just want to scan stuff. That's clearly my favorite thing in video games. Yeah.
And it did kind of start, it did kind of start here, at least in this format, especially in FPS mode. It started here, but great. Great. This one did not sell. With as big as the Wii was, you would have thought that this game would have sold a ton. So Metroid Prime 2 was like a little over 1 million. This is only like not even 1.5 million, 1.4 million. Which is bizarre.
And then they did the trilogy set.
They did a trilogy, which
it started off as like a GameStop exclusive.
Yeah.
Where you could only get it at GameStop as a steelbook, and it was like first pressing, and that was it.
The trilogy came out in let's see, what year was the trilogy released? In I think 2009. So 2 years after Corruption. And the reason the trilogy came out was because they had re-released at least the first one of the Metroids. They had re-released them to have the new play control, but they did a whole new play control series.
They did that with they did it with Pikmin. And Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. And there was it Kirby or one of those Air Ride? It was like a racing game.
Maybe.
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
None of them were particularly great, except for the Metroid ones. I guess Jungle Beat was okay because it was just an way to play it a little more realistically, because that's a really good platforming game, but like bongo controls is not ideal for anything except for Dark Souls.
True. So yeah, it was released. Both Prime and Prime 2 were released in Japan as separate games, but in the US they were released as part of the trilogy for the Wii.
Bundle.
They were, and I got my trilogy over there, and a lot of people do. It's been interesting watching the price of that thing go up and down and up and down. And there have been rumors of a trilogy re-release for so long since the Wii U.
Since the Wii U came out, because there wasn't like anything on the Wii U. Like that was the thing. Like
you can buy Trilogy on the Wii U, but you're buying the Wii version of Trilogy on the Wii.
Yeah, you're just using the Wii remotes and everything still.
So it's not an actual re-release of this. So it's the motion control version. I would love to have the actual Wii. The actual like Prime games done without motion control. Now, I don't know how they would do the third one. I'm sure you'd probably figure it out because it was designed for motion controls. But
but like they've figured that shit out with everything. Like they made because they've re-released all that stuff. And besides, it's still like they would still probably just include it in there because it still has the Joy-Cons. It would just be the same thing.
True.
And motion aiming is actually really good on the Switch a lot of times for first-person games. Like that makes Splatoon really fun, like his motion aiming and stuff. So all that stuff will still be there, but it would be nice just to play them with. It is nice to play them with just normal ass dual stick controls. Like that's sure. But I'm convinced that's coming. I'm like, I can't imagine it not, especially with the way the development of 4 has been going. So
sure.
We'll just toss 4 in here because we don't know where that's going to land chronologically.
We don't know. Before we get into that, there was another Metroid Prime game that I'm going to share right now.
You're really gonna make us watch fucking Federation Force footage?
I'm gonna make you watch Federation Force footage because it's technically in the. They debuted it in E3 2015 and said, "Check it out, guys! A new Metroid Prime game for the DS." It doesn't star Samus. It is, and the visuals just look bad. They chibi-fied it.
It's not a good game, man. It's.
No, it's not. It is. They tried to do so much. So, 4-player co-op missions in the Metroid Prime universe. That's how they do it. But it's not. It's not fun. There are ideas here. Part of me wonders if this was.
Doesn't it also because Blast Ball is actually pretty okay.
Yeah. Blast Ball is almost like the Rocket League of Metroid,
yeah,
right?
I like Blast Ball. I would think if that was just like a $10 download thing, that'd have been one thing. But to do that on the 3DS, where at this time, Dread had been a rumor for ages.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like it's it's going to be a sequel to Fusion. It's it's your traditional like stopgap. It's like it's the one that they're going to put out between the next big AAA experience. It was originally going to be like a regular DS game, and then it was like, finally here's the Metroid. They're finally going to announce Dread for the 3DS, and then it's like it's not. It's this weird bullshit that nobody wanted or asked. Nintendo has a good way of like really like doing the right thing when they need to, but when they don't have to anymore, they just kind of when they're just left to their own devices, do some crazy shit once in a while. And like when it doesn't land, it really doesn't land.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
But what might land is this guy right here, the Metroid Prime 4. All they showed was a fucking logo. Pardon my French.
Yeah, I like it when it says first look, and it really is just a 4 slowly forming. It's just a 4.
But so I was sitting at E3 in the press. One of the press. They have a couple press rooms over there. One of the press rooms, and there were folks. There was like the press room. There was like a lounge area that we're kind of hanging out in. We were watching the Nintendo Direct. There were people out in the hallways that were attendees getting ready, and we're all watching this happen, right? Them do this announcement, and the roars from people out in the hallway, from people in the lounge, in the press area, from the staff working there. People lost their shit at this game. It's the point where I still watch. There's a very famous video of the Nintendo New York store, the reaction to the Direct, where they announced this, and people, you'd think a team, your favorite sports team, won the championship because people lost their minds. It was awesome. It was really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, for nothing, for literally nothing.
For nothing.
It feels like even at the time, like there wasn't even like it wasn't even like close to like an alpha stage. Like it was still being hand drawn concept art at the time.
Right.
Because it's development. Because the rumor, I don't think they ever confirmed who was developing it originally.
No,
did they?
They didn't.
The rumor was Bandai Namco.
Okay.
But like then nothing ever came out of that. The next time you heard about Metroid Prime 4 was when they said, we've stopped development of Metroid Prime 4 and are restarting it with Retro Studios at the helm.
Yeah.
So, and it's been pretty much that was it. We haven't heard anything since then.
Yep.
So who knows where Metroid Prime 4 rests right now? Retro typically doesn't show off anything until they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. They don't.
Fine with that.
Yeah, and so it being retro and it being them being quiet doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that there's more problems with the development of the game. It just means that they're working on the game.
Yep.
Because like we didn't know they were making a Donkey Kong game until like a month before it was released. Like there was no wind up to Retro's making a Donkey Kong Country game. It just happened. And then same thing with a sequel to their Donkey Kong Country game. It just came out. Like,
it just oops.
So we won't hear anything from Prime 4 until it's ready to come out. And at this stage, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not for. It's going to be like a Zelda situation where it's like you can get it on the Switch or you can get it on the Switch too.
Yep. I think so. I think you're right. There are all kinds of rumors. There's rumors that they're going to be re-releasing, excuse me, sort of a remastered edition of the first Metroid Prime. They're re-releasing the Metroid Prime trilogy completely remastered. Then they thought, well, the rumors sort of changed too. They're doing a little bit more but remastering of the original Metroid Prime. Put that out at some point next year, and then the following year would be Metroid Prime 4, and then sometime down the line they'll just kind of scoot the other two games of the trilogy out there as individual purchases. But Metroid Prime 4 to me, it's at least 2023.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. It sucks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have there's plenty of other games.
Yeah, but also we've been proven time and time again that we have no idea what Nintendo has done at any time. Like it just happens at this point. Like you can guess until you're blue in the face. We have been predicting Metroid Dread for over a decade.
Yeah.
And they announced it this year, and it's coming out this year. Like that.
Yep. The next game in the series was the Game Boy Advance, or the Game Boy the very popular Game Boy game. As I look for this, hold on,
Metroid 2. I like the way Metroid 2, Return of Samus. And then the 3DS version is Metroid Samus Returns. Like, it's a cute way of, like, just the same name, but not.
Yeah. I'm going to share the, I like that little cute little thing that did here. Hold on. I'm going to play the video here. Here's the, again,
original?
thank you to the Wii U, the original. A game that I own on a couple. Yeah, it's playing this felt better for me because oddly enough, better for me than the original Metroid, because I think they had started to learn visually what they wanted.
They figured it out by here. They knew where this was going. Yeah, which
really
is funny.
Cool enemy designs for this too. Like
they really pushed the Game Boy to a weird. It's a short game. It's a very, very short game.
Mm-hmm.
But Game Boy games were like, Super Mario Land is like 4 worlds, and like, you can beat this in an hour, but it's a Game Boy game, It's but the fact that they were able to get most everything in there in one way or another is really impressive. Never would have thought, like, we're looking back on it now, you've realized, like, wow, that's crazy. But as a kid, I think this one was the first one I played because I was all in on the Game Boy as a kid.
Yeah.
It was my favorite thing. I didn't go anywhere without my Game Boy. Tetris, Mario, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, and what else? There's another original Game Boy game that I always just like kept in my pocket at all times. Not gonna miss out on it.
Tetris was the one that was the first game that I bought, and then a couple others.
Yeah, Tetris. Still, like Tetris. That original Game Boy Tetris is one of the best
games of all time. It's such a great version of Tetris too. Yeah. Playland. It really did look great on the device.
It really just looked like a. Well, I'm going to say black and white, but we know what I mean by Game Boy standards.
Yeah.
Like a black and white version of the NES game. Like they didn't really compromise its aesthetic at all.
Yeah.
It just made things a little blockier because of the resolution and everything, but it's a great looking game.
And then they remade it.
Yeah, then they remade it a couple years ago.
Samus Returns. Yeah. 4 years ago, actually.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's a good game. It's not great.
Yeah,
it has some weird control things that I'm not a big fan of.
It's made by the team that's developing Metroid Dread, actually.
Yeah.
Was it Mercury team, right? It was fine.
It's fine.
It turned the issue that I had with the game was it turned Metroid 2 into less of a exploration and more of like action.
Yeah,
I think that's maybe what
we've gone this whole time without saying the phrase Metroidvania. It's hard to get in there, but it really can't be like understated enough, like how crucial Metroid is to this genre.
right, yeah.
Like,
no, it's
there's a
true.
reason why we say Metroidvania, and it's not just it's the reason why we say roguelike and everything, but oh boy, that's loud.
Sorry about that. Yeah. But hey, Samus Returns. There you go.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's fine. It's not great, but one of the weaker Metroid entries on the list.
Yeah.
That like a real game, not like their bullshit spin-off things that we've talked about earlier. Like of the real Metroid games, it's not the weakest, that's for sure, but it's one of the weaker ones.
Then the next game chronologically is Super Metroid, the highly regarded as one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah, it's definitely the best Metroid game. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. It's got such a look to it.
Look at the way they're showing it on the Wii U. Actually, which is pretty funny. Sound is so good.
So good. It's got
parallax scrolling, the Chozo statue moving. I mean, there's so many cool.
It uses
cool things
all.
in the game.
It's like it uses all the stuff that the Super Nintendo like it's not like it has all we needed was like a Mode 7 spaceship escape sequence to really just hammer in. This was on the Super Nintendo. Oh man, remember how proud they were of the Wii U?
Yes. Yeah.
I just love this trailer. It's on the tablet and it's on the TV. That's wild.
You can have it on both. But it's a phenomenal game. And years later, I played it, and I kept kicking myself for wasting so long because one of the Baby Metroid part of this, yes, it managed to keep what other Metroids did not, a mystery. It completely agree. There is definitely a sort of a twist ending at the end of this one, right? With the Baby Metroid and all that kind of stuff. Sorry to spoil it if people haven't played a 30-year-old game, but the way it told its story with action as opposed to stopping and having a lot of text and stuff, I think was so commendable, which it's still difficult to do these days, and in gaming, and it really takes a team.
Even in like Fusion, even in Fusion, which is a really one of we'll get to it in a minute, but it's one of the best Metroid games outside, right up there, and it actually has cutscenes. Like
Fusion,
like this one didn't need that. This one really just sort of was. This one is able to use sort of environmental storytelling to really get things across, and it was everything about this game. It feels good to play. Like every time you die, it's your fault. It's true. You messed that up. That wasn't that wasn't a flaw in the game. You fucked up. So that Super Metroid is easily one of the greatest video games of all time, and it's why Nintendo is Nintendo kind of thing. Like something as simple as like just making something that you've already made before, but fixing everything and making everything better. It's a matter of just increments, not it's a marathon, not a sprint with Nintendo in a lot of times.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
What they did with this game, and the praise it still gets to this day. And I remember when the first rumors we were hearing about a new 2D Metroid game was that it was going to be a remake of Super Metroid. Everybody thought that's going to be the remake of this game. Perfect, cool, awesome. We'll take it.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been remade, and I don't think it needs to. Right? They've remade the first two Metroid games in the series. You got to Super Metroid, and I think it doesn't need to be remade.
Well, it's because you have to remake those games to make them on par with Super Metroid.
Yes, exactly.
Because even Metroid Fusion, which again is in terms of 2D Metroids, is just an incremental improvement over Super Metroid. So it was just basically bringing those other games up to Super Metroid level, and Super Metroid doesn't need to be brought up to Super Metroid level because it's there. Right. All you'll be doing to a Super Metroid remake is making it look different, and it doesn't need it, but it doesn't need to. It's like when remade Ocarina of Time for the 3DS, it just made it look better. It didn't really fix anything.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like it was visually, it's telling the story we need it to tell. So I can see Nintendo just being like, we really don't need to do like a polygonal Super Metroid.
So what's really interesting about this is, again, Super Metroid tells a story about the baby, Samus rescuing the baby Metroid. Let's see. So
I'm trying to go a weird, because like the Metroids are it's in the title of the game. They're the ever looming threat. They're a constant threat to humanity, to like, if they get out there, they're just gonna suck life dry out of everyone. And the sort of it does the Terminator 2 thing where it's like, well, now the villainous thing is seen as sympathetic at the end of this game in a way, because it's a baby. And it's also a bit of a another Aliens kind of thing, where I remember like when Ridley escapes, or Ripley escapes, and like there's an egg on the it's playing into that.
So this what's really interesting about the Metroid series is that, unlike other Nintendo series, at least on the NES, Super NES, it really kept to its plot, its story. It was a direct sequel to Metroid 2, which was a sequel to Metroid 1.
Like I was saying, it understands its lore. It's important, and the director even says as much. He thinks story is important, and it's not like, and everything it plays into itself. Like when they remade Zero Mission, they also realized they had to remake parts of the game to make it sort of fall in line with the canon. Change the things to make it sort of fit with some of the things that would come later on in the franchise, to place it where it's supposed to, because it is the start of the game, so it didn't have any other like future knowledge at the time. So it's the only Nintendo game that cares, because like
it does.
Zelda games, they care about them game to game. Like you've seen the timeline; it makes no sense. They have it out there, and it's just like it. Comic books are more coherent in their multiverse than the Legend of Zelda is. Like even if you look at the timeline and you like, okay, so Link is defeated, and like I don't understand how that. This one is just like it's a single story. Even the spin-offs are tied in. I don't think there's only one game that has a sort of iffy canonical representation in it, and even that it's never been formally said that it's out of canon. Like
we'll get to that one a little bit.
It's still like, up until very recently, it was still like listed as being in canon, and they've never said it's not. It's just gone missing on some websites.
So what's interesting about Metroid is, the first Metroid is Samus finding out about the Metroids. Second Metroid, the Galactic Federation sends her, Metroid to the Game Over. They send her in to exterminate. They're like, you know what? These things are going to be a threat. Get rid of them all. She's like, all right, fine, I'll go there. The third Metroid, Super Metroid, after she had rescued the last of the species, she, I don't want to say falls, but the motherly instinct in her protects this hatchling, and the hatchling imprints on her to the point where it actually, again, spoilers, there is actually genetic material with her and the hatchling and all that kind of stuff. But and again, this is the Space Pirates with Ridley and Kraid and all them, and and Mother Brain, everything. They're trying to get this hatchling to kind of control, to have power, right? This hatchling is going to give them ultimate this wild power by having this. So they at the very end of Super Metroid, final Metroid is killed off. Baby, the hatchling's killed off. There's no hope for Metroid. It's in the future. How are they ever going to continue having a series if the whole purpose of the series is destroyed? Well, I'll tell you how, with the game we were just talking about, Metroid Other M. In this game here, which, by the way, is difficult to find even on Nintendo's website. I think they don't want you to know too much about it either. Metroid Other M. So the Metroids are gone. Mother Brain is gone. Samus is, healed. Everything's good. Scientists managed to remove the the way the story goes, they remove the baby particles from her power suit and they recreate the Metroid species. We got it. We figured it out. So all of a sudden, Metroids are back, and they recreated the Metroids without weakness to ice, because Metroid had a weakness to ice. So all of a sudden, it's a whole big messy situation. What I think people didn't like about this game, there's a lot of people didn't like about this game, but as you see there, a lot of text. There's a lot of voice work. There's a lot of cutscenes in this game. A very non-Metroid style. There's no mystery. There's no.
No, it's a straight. It's a straight action game.
It is.
I'm going to need to ask for your cooperation on this mission.
It doesn't even really do any of the backtracking in the same level as like it's not a Metroidvania game. Like it really is. It's the most linear Metroid game out there.
It really is. And so the way this game plays out is it's a kind of 3D, 2D, first-person weird mix in that you kind of traverse the world in sort of 2D-ish.
Situation.
It's got some weird IR control stuff.
Yep. And then you hop into 3D for scanning and for certain battles. So that's done by literally rotating your Wii remote from holding it sideways to pointing it to the screen, and that takes you from third person to first person mode. And it's weird. So you can see this is the majority of the game is like this, where you're just sort of in 2D stuff, and that's actually kind of interesting take on Metroid. But again, much more action-oriented style of play, and then there are just a ton of cutscenes.
I don't hate the game. Like playing it's actually pretty fun for the most
it's kind of
part.
Yep.
But everything else about the one thing that everyone was rightfully complained about is how useless they made Samus.
Okay, Samus.
It's just her constantly taking orders from higher military ups. Just like this woman has to ask permission to be able to use her missiles. Like they could I understand that they have to figure out a way to strip Samus of her powers at every game. I don't behoove the sort of weird tropey part of that. Like some way she has to lose all of her powers.
How you feeling about that?
But this was the worst possible way to do it.
It really was. And it was Team Ninja that developed this game for Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the audience at E3 when they showed this. I think it was 2010. They showed the game and we thought, wow, all right, okay, interesting. And then getting our hands on it, we thought, okay, maybe not so interesting. Yeah. But again, Metroid, a couple of Metroid games are all about like genocidal extermination of a species. Metroid 2 was that, and then this game again, it's about, you know what, we done effed up, we played God, these things are worse. We need you to come in and just kill off this entire species, which is just so wild.
This doesn't work this time, sorry.
And that ended up being like a weird side story because they really could make it its own thing, and then get back to really what they wanted to tell, a story about, which was the real 2D.
Yeah, 2D. And that's 2010, and that is the last original story Metroid game.
Yes.
Until the week that we're doing this right here.
I'm going to show you a couple different Metroid trailers here for the next game. The newest game in the timeline,
Metroid Prime Pinball.
No, which we didn't touch on Metroid Prime Pinball, by the way. It's not technically in the plot, but
is this the title screen? Is that the actual title screen? I haven't seen it in a long time.
Metroid Fusion. This was one of the first trailers E3 2002 trailer. So I'm sure I think they did change it later on. But
that looked like an airbrushed shirt from a boardwalk.
It did, didn't it? It did. This is what they showed at E3. And I've been playing this game on my 3DS because I'm part of the ambassador program, baby. And it's one of the games that they dropped, which they never re-released to purchase on the 3DS. You can.
They didn't put out any 3DS games, or like Game Boy Advance games on the 3DS. Yeah.
It's sad, but it's Metroid. It introduced so much to the series. Yeah. What I like about Fusion is that it's Samus and it's an AI, basically, right? And it's so well done.
The introduction cutscene of that AI is genuinely pretty creepy.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah.
They did a really interesting thing with this because you're fearful not just of the beasts and the monsters and all kind of stuff you come across, which was like the first couple Metro games.
Yeah.
You're actually fearful of technology in this one.
Yeah.
Which I think was really cool.
Yeah. This is absolutely one of the absolute best GBA games, period.
Yeah. Yep.
It's if Super Metroid isn't the best of the franchise, Fusion is. It's they go hand in hand, really, for me. Fusion is such a good, well-made game that Super Metroid and Fusion are the two that I've played through more than twice. So,
and here it is on the Wii U. Let me turn this down. It's loud again.
Can you please turn it down for me?
There you go. Sorry about that. I'll have this. Visually, actually looks better on.
The creepy eyes.
Creepy eyes. So you get the plot of this is kind of interesting in that there's this X virus essentially that this parasite that was the original prey of the Metroid, and so Samus is she's tagging along, kind of plays as a bodyguard for the science team for this company called Biologic, and see that was the actual screen there, and she ends up becoming infected by this parasite, the X parasite. So they surgically remove the power suit because everything is sort of weirdly bonded, and they cure the infection with a Metroid vaccine. By the way, see, vaccines are important even in the Metroid universe.
Even in the Metroid universe.
So she survived the parasite infestation, but she gains these sort of Metroid characteristics, which is why you see a lot of really interesting things there. And so she has to go back to the Space Lab station, the research station for this company, Biologic, where they were kind of containing that power suit that they had removed from her. And the suit actually became a mimic of Samus. And I think that's a badass way to, that's where you see that kind of cool.
That is basically an actual plot line from the real Ghostbusters cartoon series.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
There's the jumpsuits from the first movie that have the Stay Puft slime all over them come to life and sort of take on they're ghost versions of the Ghostbusters in the original suits, and that's basically what the plot line of Metroid Fusion is.
So I'm gonna play now this badass live action trailer for Metroid Dread.
Yeah, this trailer ruled.
This trailer was awesome. Sorry for this poor quality. I'm gonna make sure it's turned down a little bit. Yes, turned down enough. But it was a live action trailer that played on TV in widescreen, oddly enough. Yeah. But it was so cool because it makes obviously CG and stuff. But there she is. She's taking on the X clone of hers, and it's such a good game. Such a good game. Nintendo did so well with that game. It again ended up selling only 1.6 million. So it's actually the third highest in the series.
I would be, yeah. I was gonna say
this
has to be one of the best selling ones because it has the advantage of A, being cheap because it was a Game Boy game, and B, just being just like an early Game Boy Advance game, and everyone was hungry for Game Boy Advance stuff, especially like
true.
So, man, Fusion was so good. It looks good, dude. The suit designs and everything, whip ass. Like, we didn't mention it. We didn't mention it when we were talking about Zero Mission, but Zero Mission is where the Zero suit came from. That became like Samus's iconic thing these days. Like, I thought it was Fusion, but then I was like, wait, no, Zero Mission. It was the other Game Boy Advance game. Like, it's so weird. Like, that's like how the aesthetic of Metroid hasn't changed except for this one thing that came much later, and it just became her thing. And it's so recent.
Is it in Smash Brothers?
It's like a whole
Smash Brothers. It's a whole separate character.
Yeah. Used to be the same. Wait, is it? I forget. It's a separate character. It used to be one and the same. Like you could bust.
Yes, I think so.
Like if you could bust off your suit, now you're Zero Suit Samus and shit like that. Yeah.
Which leads us to this Friday, the release of Metroid Dread. And this was from the direct from last week or a couple weeks ago, whenever this direct was, so long ago. But reviews are out for Metroid Dread. It's getting rave reviews, like one of the highest rated Metroid games easily. Yeah. One of the highest rated games of the year.
I'm sure it's gonna sell like shit, but I don't care.
No, this is going to be the highest selling Metroid game.
I think it's gonna be the highest selling?
Oh, by far. I think this game is gonna be the highest selling Metroid game by far. I'm willing to stake ownership of side questing on it, but I think this game's going to be but yeah, I really do feel like it's going to be, because it's drawing people in from who weren't Metroid necessarily fans, or who kind of left the series, who were turned off by the Samus 2 remake.
And again, there hasn't been a real like serious Metroid game, like Other M kind of really, but like, you know, I don't like Samus Returns really wasn't even that big of a deal for Nintendo. Like they just kind of plopped it out there. Like, so Corruption was kind of like their last like major release. Like the one that they put like emphasis before. You are right though. There's a very good chance that it'll be one of those games where it's like opening week will outsell the best selling game of the franchise. Like
the high selling Metroid game is Prime with 2.84 million.
Yeah, which there's very real possibility that the first week sales of
this
will double that. It won't, but
no, I do think you'll get you're going to get by the end of this month. I can see Metroid Dread probably getting 3.5 million, 4 million, but potentially worldwide by the end of this month, which makes it because it's on this thing, right? Yeah. It's on the Switch. It's launching with a new updated Switch, which I just realized I did still have my pre-order for that. I thought I
better check your bank account.
So I better check my bank account. It's going to go live here.
I remember to cancel mine because as much as I do want it, I shouldn't right now. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. But there are 70 to 80 million of these things floating around.
I think it's number as of last night. I think it was like number 3 on the eShop or something, and it's not even out yet. So.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of us are buying physical copies, and I really do think it's going to be everybody on site's buying it. Which you wouldn't have said about a previous Metroid game, but everybody on staff is getting it. I think it feels like a very easy to digest type of Metroid game. Yeah.
I'm happy that they are kind of. I am happy with a sort of horror slant, like leaning into it, because it's always been sort of horror adjacent, but it never really leaned into it as from a gameplay perspective. Like Fusion is the closest they got. Because you were being stalked by SAX. but like this one really seems like it's going to be. It's like the nemesis. You know, it's a
Yeah.
tyrant sort of like you are like underpowered and you are in trouble against the main villain of this thing, and I dig that a lot.
Oh, totally.
So, and it's mostly a side scroller, which I feel like as much as I love the Prime games, I think that works so much better for Samus. Like it feels good. It's I'm glad we're finally getting this.
Yes,
it's
so long in development. It's been rumored
Dread
for
has been
over a decade, right?
It's the worst kept secret in gaming that Nintendo the name just didn't. We've been mentioning this name. IGN reported on it in the mid 2000s. Like it's not like it didn't just come out of nowhere. And the fact that it exists, it's not Nintendo's way to do a wink and a nod to the audience kind of thing. So clearly it's been out there. Clearly people have seen it and have known what it is. Like we don't. Who the fuck are we?
Well, apparently, the Metroid's creator Yoshio Sakamoto tried to actually get Metroid Dread created in 2005. Because Fusion was still Fusion was still hot on their minds, and so they thought 2005 we're going to do it, and then that first attempt failed. The second attempt was around 2008, and then it just kind of. And they even had apparently a playable prototype was ready. At E3 2009, they showed off to like Nintendo staff, and then it just kind of floundered after that, and so it laid dormant for so long. But it's funny is it says I'm reading kind of the Wikipedia then. I remember this happening. A message reading experimental status report update. Metroid Project Dread is nearing the final stages of completion. Is in Metroid Prime 3 corruption. And I remember that. And I remember like listening to podcasts on IGN who were talking about Dread. Like, that's the name of the game, blah, blah, blah. Then it went to 2010. They said it was existing, but Nintendo was going to start from scratch, blah, blah, blah. And so it just kept going and going and going until finally they just announced it this past year at E3. And it made people kind of lose their minds a little bit, which was really, really cool. Metroid's always been a bigger series in the West than it has been in Japan and in the East. So again, I think it's going to do gangbusters here. I think it'll be the top game in Japan for that week, but that's it. But I think in the US, it has a very good chance of being the biggest game in October. I don't really know too many games that are coming out in October, but apart from Mario Party and some other stuff on other consoles, but I really feel like it's going to be the top selling game. It will be. It will be the top selling game of
this is a pretty big week for video games. Like a lot of stuff comes out this week. So Metroid, it's hard to tell because like you would never think about Far Cry games until they're out, and then all of a sudden they're just like, oh, everyone bought the new Far Cry, huh?
Metroid, man, it's awesome. I'm so excited for it this weekend.
Let's just mention briefly like the other stuff that has been
go ahead.
Metroid. Look, so there was we joked about it because there was Metroid Prime Pinball. Which is
you can't find it anywhere, can you?
No. You got to just get it or in one way or the other. But it's just a retelling of the first Prime game, but through
what a cool idea.
Tables.
Here, I'm going to play the
Nintendo. Say what you want. Nintendo's been really good at adapting their games to pinball, like. Because there were like, what is it? You have Pokemon Pinball, you have Kirby Pinball Land, you have this. There was a Mario Pinball. Yeah.
There was the one that worked with voice.
Yeah. That was Odama.
Which is sort of. But this was a really cool idea. It's funny because they announced Metroid Prime Hunters. They gave you And then the first game to come out was this.
I love this butt rock remix of
Yeah.
the Metroid theme. It's just like this.
Awesome.
So good.
But yeah, Bug Hunt.
Metroid,
It's a cool idea. Really cool idea. I really wish they would put this back out.
Yeah, Metroid didn't really branch out outside of video games. There was in Japan, there was some manga stuff. Mother Brain was one of the main antagonists in Captain N.
Oh, that's Mother. I remember that. Yeah, like a really, really like annoying Mother Brain.
It was a really unfortunate. Like somebody would be canceled today for what they did with Mother Brain.
Yeah.
They made Mother Brain really flamboyant. And there was a movie in development for years. I think at one point it was a John Woo movie.
Yes, it was John Woo.
Which would have been cool as hell.
With David Greenwald, for the writer of Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, Angel, like the guy was involved there. Yep. There was there's been a lot of people kind of in and out touching the Metroid series to turn it into something. I would love a movie. A movie. I would love a cartoon series, like an animated series, Castlevania style would be perfect for Metroid. Perfect. They were supposed to make one. I remember this now. It was considered for the Mario Brothers Power Hour. This news broke a couple of years ago. But they were going to make Samus a man.
Yeah. Yes.
Which it definitely didn't turn out that way. But yeah, there's been a lot of manga and comics and stuff, and I think that's pinball hunters and Federation Force are sort of the spin-offs that have
it's really a small franchise. Like there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sort of like main games that are out now, like not including Federation Force or Pinball or Hunters. Other M is a hit or miss, like remakes of like Metroid 2 or whatever. Like, but there's only a handful of Metroid games, and it's missed whole console generations.
Yeah.
So, they make it count when it comes out for the most part. I always look forward to a new Metroid when they announce it. It's always interesting what they're going to do with it. So, it's one of Nintendo's just sort of it is a franchise for them. It's never been one of their biggest. Probably never like we said this will probably be the biggest the franchise has ever been. I wouldn't by the time Metroid Prime 4 comes out, like will this have sort of like eaten some of its like power? You know what I mean? Like it's impossible to know. At least it's getting good. At least we know it's good. Like as of right now, at least we know Dread didn't come out as a complete clusterfuck. Like it's done. It's good. People like it. It sounds like the worst part of this game is that it's not running so well docked. Like,
Well, we'll
see that for ourselves.
And with that, we'll see more Metroid hopefully in the future. But that is it for our Metroid.
Yeah, the next episode of the podcast will just be more Metroid talk.
Yeah, exactly.
All of us are going to be playing it.
Again, I'm playing it. I have my. I've been playing Fusion on my 3DS, 2DS here, loving it. I ended up purchasing Super Metroid on this thing because I thought, I'm going to turn this into a Metroid machine here and just have Metroid. It's like Metroid in my pocket.
Yeah, like how my Vita has like every Final Fantasy on it. Yours is just going to have every Metroid.
Yep. So there you go, Metroid. And I also have a few Metroid themes for the 2DS, which is kind of cool. Because remember the 3DS had themes that was really nice.
The Switch has themes, white and black.
Yeah. The themes are in the Joy-Cons. But as of the time of this podcast, the show, and likely for a little while at least, the only Metroid games that you can get on the Switch, apart from the upcoming Dread, are Metroid 1 and Super Metroid on the Switch Online. So we'll see. Maybe Nintendo will release something later on, but who knows?
But on the Nintendo Online thing, they do have like the special save file where you can load the original Metroid right into the. Don't have to enter in the Justin Bailey cheat yourself.
Yeah,
it just automatically loads it.
Yep. I like that.
They didn't even mention the Justin Bailey thing, but that's been pounded to the ground. We know everything about there is to know about.
Just Google it. Google it.
Yeah.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the end of our phenomenal Metroid specific podcast. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure we'll talk more about the game actually when we get our hands on it. With
cool
that, I mean,
that suit's
a cool suit. Cool suit, great artwork. They're nailing the marketing on this. So, well, that's it. Again, you can find us sidequesting.com, sidequesting TV, sidequesting. You can find me at Dolly Domovsky. There I am. You can find JJ at
_double_J.
Yep. And come to the Discord because that's where we're hiding. And we'll see you next time on maybe another special side quest. We got to come up with a name for these little special one-offs. I just had the side quest, but we'll figure out something. See ya. Bye, everybody. Metroid.